You know, I've only been trying for years now to try to get somebody from The Bachelor, Bachelorette to come on and just talk a little bit about some of their experiences and journeys, you know, during the show, before the show, and even what happens after the show.
And dreams come true when you're patient.
You know, finally. So I'm so excited to welcome in and introduce this man. He was on season 18 of The Bachelorette, and he was a star of season 26 of The Bachelor. He is from Missouri, played football in good old Missouri, even had a little training camp session with the Seattle Seahawks. Mr. Clayton Echard is live in the studio. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man.
You know what, guys? Thanks so much for having me. I'm just excited to be able to kind of spread the message that we'll obviously dive into, but a lot has happened over the last year at this point, which I can't believe it all started a year ago from the beginning of when I first was reached out to. And I feel like it's just been a whirlwind.
Well, I love origin stories. Yeah. So can we talk just a little bit about life before any of this crazy stuff happened? You know what I mean?
Growing up in Missouri.
Yeah. You know, football, mom and dad, brothers, all that stuff. And then, you know, you do this reality show, and then now you got a new mission in life.
Oh gosh, yeah. So where I'm at now versus where I started at there's a massive contrast. And maybe almost a disconnect at points, just because I can't believe who I am now would have never been high school me, wouldn't have thought this is who I'd be today and what I'd went through. Grew up in, small town called Eureka, Missouri. We had a Six Flags, actually, ironically, weirdly enough, in Eureka. But outside of that, we had only a commuter lot.
Whereabouts? How close is this to like St. Louis?
Near St. Louis, right?
45 minutes west of St. Louis. Population about 10,000. It was a Friday Night Lights kind of town. Everyone knew everybody. Everybody went to the games. We would get sometimes 5,000 to 6,000 people showing up for a high school football game because that's about all there was to do.
It's a bigger draw than Six Flags, even, it sounds like.
We would bring them in. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was a tight-knit community. But, yeah, as far as growing up, I mean, we would hang out at a commuter lot off the highway. That's where it all started for me. That's where my buddies, we'd sit there, we'd wait for someone that was bold enough to throw a house party before the cops that knew everybody in town would end up crashing it, and we'd all end up running out the back door. And that was life in high school, was just hanging out off the highway in this commuter lot. That's about all we had. That's about all I knew.
So at this point, I mean, were you football only? Was that the main? Did you have an idea in regards to post-high school stuff, or were you so dialed in on football, this was just main focus for you?
I knew nothing outside of sports. At the time, my dad had a rule. He said, you either work or you play sports year-round. And so me and my brothers just at the time did not want to work a job, so we thought, let's just keep playing sports. This is fun, all right? We enjoy it. So we played football, basketball, baseball, ran track.
You did it all.
I did.
Impressive.
But not well. I was terrible. In fact,
I like the humility.
Yeah, I was terrible at all of them. Freshman year high school, I was a fourth string quarterback. I didn't start varsity until my senior year. And so I had no plans to continue playing football after high school because it didn't seem like it was in the cards for me. I was so terrible. I was the slowest kid my freshman year on the football team. The slowest. I had growing pains. I was a mess. I had to go to a running coach to fix it. My brother, who's 2 years younger, started varsity before me. I was on JV as a junior when he was on varsity as a freshman. I had everything going against me. My friends, everyone bullied me. I was much smaller than I was, that I am today. And so I just struggled to fit in. I was socially awkward coming from a Lutheran school to a middle school. All of a sudden, this whole world, I kind of was sheltered by my parents. Couldn't watch a rated R movie until I was, I think, 16.
Same. I lived that life.
Whereas my dad was taking me to the movies he wanted to see in the early 90s, late 80s. Yeah. Well, it's going to be tonight. Alien 2. Great. Terminator 2 Judgment Day this Monday, Dad, right? Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So that just blows me away, guys. Yeah. And I know that I'm older than you guys are. And Elise was sheltered on the level more so than you.
And I'm also from a town of 10,000, so everything you're saying,
I grew up in a small
relate.
Town, right? But in the Southwest, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, religion was there, but not to the point where my mother or my dad, and I had a single mom, but there wasn't a point like she ever thought that we were going to be corrupt based on content. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's interesting that depending on which part of the country you live in, like that can really maybe add to your ailments, perhaps. Yeah. Maybe we'll get to that. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
You're right on the money. So I was almost so sheltered just because my parents were phenomenal parents. Yeah. And I think they raised me and my brothers in an incredible way, and they always provided for us. And we always had what we needed. But we had to work for it. And that was always the mindset. And growing up in a small town, Missouri, it was, you want something, you work hard for it. So those values were instilled in me, and that's the way that I always viewed it. But because I was in this environment, all I knew was Missouri. All I knew was this small town. And up until a year ago, I mean, I was still living in Missouri. I was going to college. I was in my college town working there after winning 5 years, played football there. I ended up finding my way back there and worked 5.5 years as a medical sales rep. So I just didn't know what else was out there. I'd heard about East Coast, West Coast, the high life and all that. It sounded overwhelming to me. It sounded just like these people are a completely different breed. I wouldn't be able to connect with them. I wouldn't know the first thing about this industry. I've heard it's fake. I've heard it's just this giant beast that I don't even want to participate in because I wouldn't even know where to start.
Sure.
And then I got a DM.
Yeah, okay, so before we jump into that, you got to tell me more about, like, your lady situation.
Okay.
Because it's not like my biggest thing about these types of shows is, for one, we know it's not real.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not realistic in regards to the people that they cast on the show, right? You're not a bad-looking guy. I mean, you're, 6'3", 6'4", you got very big arms and muscles. Sorry, bro. I don't think you got problems getting girls.
Oh,
you know
my
what I mean?
gosh.
And it's the same thing with the women on the show. So, yes, the DM out of nowhere. Were you a single guy? I mean, had you been in any serious relationships at this point in your life?
One prior, but I should say before all this, I wish I had brought pictures, because if you saw what I looked like in 7th grade, and if you would see my DMs as far as what I was messaging girls, it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
I did not know how to talk to women. My DMs are embarrassing. They were like, the things I was saying were just.
So got out of your relationship and I guess just trying to date after that,
well,
or
this is before.
Oh,
the
before
relationship.
that.
Yeah.
Got it.
So this is from 7th grade on, when I started. All of a sudden, hormones kicked in. I'm like, wait, I don't want to be best friends with these girls anymore. I want to date them.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to talk to them at all. I was cringy. Every comment I said, I felt like I had to make a joke. So I was trying too hard. I tried too hard. And I was awkward. I was skinny. I just did not know how to talk to a woman. I felt like I had to like make them laugh with every word.
Sure.
So I was a tryhard. And I struggled. And I struggled until I got to college. And then I started, all of a sudden I blossomed with my size. I got 50 pounds heavier, started playing football, and started to get some attention. And then I kind of realized that I was like, you know what? To talk to a woman is no different than talking to a man per se. You just have a casual conversation, but you just flirt a little bit, right? There's not some secret ingredient.
You don't have to be a stand-up comedian.
No, you just gotta talk and just ask questions and be interested in their lives and show that you're interested. So all of a sudden I was like, light bulb moment. I was like, you've been trying too hard this whole time. Like, just relax and be yourself. So then I found a girlfriend, dated her for 3.5 years, and then we broke up.
Were you in love with her?
Oh yeah, I was. Yeah. She's an incredible woman. But I think, you know what? I realized it was my first relationship that I was in, and in hindsight, looking back at it, I probably could have done more to be a better boyfriend. But it was my first experience, dating someone long term. But it did a lot for me. That relationship really helped me learn and all that, and show me what it takes to be in a loving relationship and for one to last. So going forward, then from that point, I kind of went through a phase where I was like, well, I was never getting attention. I was waiting till marriage. I was living, by the books. And then all of a sudden I come out of, dating, and all of a sudden I'm getting all this attention. And now I have this confidence. Now I know how to talk to women. And I went through that phase that some people go through, where you just kind of play the field.
Well, man, listen. Let's not demonize this either, dude. You know what I mean? Like, this is just a normal part of growing up, right?
Yeah.
You live, you learn, you grow. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's all about moving forward. So yeah, it's just a phase. It's just a chapter.
And mine extended for, some would say longer than a phase.
It was a long chapter.
Yeah.
I love how you can laugh at yourself.
Well,
it's a great.
That's the thing.
This is great.
It was kind of upsetting almost in a way, because the show, when I went on it, they portrayed me as this like big time Christian kid, which I am. I'm Christian.
Sure.
I am. But they portrayed me as like this guy who struggled to find love or get attention and build relationships. And it's like, not really. No, like I'm not this kid that's like been wait until marriage. Like, I almost feel like they try to portray me as like not a born again, but kind of along those lines.
Kind of like a Sean Lowe type.
Yeah,
bit.
and I'm not. And so what happened was then all of a sudden, like, there started to be things would surface online that, hey, this kid is not that. Like,
right, but you're not trying to be that in the first place. Yeah.
I'm trying to fight a narrative that like I didn't write, and so it became, well, listen, I'm fully transparent, completely open and honest. Like, that's been my entire shtick, and that's the way I've stuck to it. went on the show, and my honesty got me in trouble because I was just saying stuff that most people weren't willing to like bring to light. Now, granted, I also should say that, yes, I handled things poorly. I think that's what makes good reality TV. I wasn't trying to, but I just did. I did what I thought was best, and it was a train wreck. And I realized, like, I'm not good at dating multiple women at one time, which I'm okay with. Like, I don't want to ever be good at that. Like, it's something that I realized that I tried to navigate well, but I got in way over my head.
But, Clayton, I think it's more like, bro, I don't think anybody's supposed to know what to do in that type of a situation. You know what I mean?
It is unnatural, the whole premise.
That anybody attacks you for something that they heard, and forgive me, if you got like a part of religious America that's coming after you, be like, you're not who you say you are. Well, who are they to say anything to anybody? Like, you got to be kidding me, right? Like, that's what it's turned into, bro. Yeah. Everybody's looking for something to yell at somebody else about. Yeah. Mind your business. Let the guy do his thing, right? Like, they're going to be able to tell what type of a man you are based on an hour and a half worth of some show on AB. Like, that's crazy to me.
And that's what I wish people would just keep in mind is it is what it is, right? And what's shown is what's shown. But what's not shown is also very important, but it wasn't shown. And that's just because the show is going to show what they want to.
Yeah.
And they can make something so minor be major because they can take a 10-minute conversation and make that the full 10 minutes out of the 6 or the 2 hours that they have to show, where it's like, there might have been something that I spent 4 hours on and they showed 5 minutes of. Mm-hmm. So that's where I just try to tell people now, and when I met people in person, they're like, wow, you're not like what the show depicts you as. And it's like, yeah, because that's what they decided to show. The actions I took.
And they're masterminds.
Well, yeah, and the actions I took them. I mean, what you're seeing is me. It's not like some body double. Like, that is me.
Wouldn't that be a plot twist?
Yeah. If I end up watching the show back, I don't even remember that. No, I did it all. And so that's
then they'd really be the masterminds.
Yeah,
wow.
And gosh, with technology nowadays, they probably can get you to look. You know, I've seen some of these deep fakes and such.
Oh, it's crazy.
They didn't do that with me, right? Yeah. That's why I keep trying to tell people, as I say all this, I take full accountability for what happened on the show. I took those actions. And so that's where it ends. And it got to the point where at first I was trying to explain myself because I wanted people to understand that my heart was pure, that I was trying to do what was best. But then I realized people started saying, yeah, we get that. We know your heart was in the best spot. Your intentions were pure, but you're not looking past intentions and seeing perceptions and impact. And you need to take accountability for the impact that you left, because the more times you explain your intentions, it almost becomes like numbing that it seems like you're trying to justify and you're trying to dodge accountability for the way that your actions were perceived and the impact you left. And that was great. I learned that from the show, and I realized that the more times you explain something, the more damage you can end up doing, because all those people want to do is want you to say, listen, I'm sorry for the pain that I caused. And it's that simple. I can explain it once, but if you don't want my explanation, why do I continue to give it?
Yeah.
And I was trying to defend my character. I was trying to defend my ego. That's why I kept trying to explain it. And it was the wrong thing to do.
I'm amazed at the high moral ground that The Bachelor has. I mean, you got to be kidding me with some of this stuff. I mean, people attacking you based on behavior on The Bachelor. Again, people are so out of touch, man, when it comes to like Hollywood and production elements, and like they think there's so much truth. It's entertainment at the end of the day. Like, folks, it's entertainment. They're going to skew the storylines. They're going to, again, take of a 4-hour conversation and take the 10 best minutes that could villainize you to the point that it's entertaining for us. Yeah. You know, and if you're taking that literal, and if you're basing judgment on somebody based on a reality television show, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you don't want people like that in your life anyways.
Right, and that's where I tried to appease this audience of people that I was never going to make happy. I mean, the fact of the matter is the proof's in the pudding. I was hated before I even opened my mouth.
Oh, dude, yeah. You're the man that just got cast as The Bachelor. Yeah, you're living out everybody's fantasy on television.
And that was what was frustrating, was everyone said, you know what you signed up for, like, you're so lucky to have this. And it's like, but I didn't know all the ramifications, all the blowback I was going to get. And again, I just make this point because it's like, everyone's like, well, the reason why you're hated is because the actions you took. It's like, go back to when I was announced. Go on my profile page or my Instagram when I had me taking a picture with the puppies. Read the commentary. Half of it was like, who is this guy? He's going to be boring white dude. Like, we don't want him. That was
I remember seeing a lot of those comments.
I had done no wrong at that point. You can't tell me I did any wrong, because I didn't at that point. Now, since, yes, I finally gave people a reason to hate me. Like, I gave them now tangible things that they're like, we don't like the way you handle this. Fair enough. But the fact of the matter is when I walked through the door and just started smiling, I was already disliked, and I already had the cards stacked against me. And it just from there, it was just like, okay, we already don't like you, so we're looking for something to be mad at you about. And then boom, I gave them a few things to be mad about, and it was just like, it caught fire, and then I just by the thousands got these messages that came in telling me, kill yourself, telling me you're not worthy of love. I hope you just are removed from the face of this earth. I had a few death threats. And it was...
How can someone even do that? Like, I'm just sitting here listening to you.
Well,
like, who has so much hate in their heart?
This is what the world's turned into.
Awful.
I mean, you got these social media people...
You don't have to like a show, but like, yeah, it's sick.
This is what I realized is
really
a lot
sick.
of people were projecting their anger from based off of experiences that they've had in their life. I had people make these comments, you remind me of an ex. And that's when I realized that people are watching this show, they're seeing my stupidity and what I'm doing, and they're thinking back to, this is a guy that I can relate, that I remember
right,
back in high
reliving
school.
their own trauma.
They're reliving their trauma,
yeah.
and they're pushing that trauma onto me, where it's like, I am not, like, you're perceiving me for what I am on the show, but this show can't capture who I really am. Of
course.
It's not, like, and it didn't. But again, I say all that to say, I'm not trying to say that, like, oh, just so you guys know, like, I take full accountability. And I think that's where I try to just always hammer that down. I'm almost in a way to say, listen, I did what I did on that show, but don't understand that your anger is misplaced, because I really was, I'm not this giant gaslighter that everyone's saying that was looking to just manipulate women for the sake of getting in their pants. Couldn't be farther from that. I really believed that I was falling for all of those women, like, in different ways. I was mind blown the fact that there were so many good looking, incredible women that they found from all over the country. I'd be lucky to have one of them and date one of them. And coming from nowhere, Missouri, you'd be lucky if you found one of them in your town. Now all of a sudden you gave me 30.
Yeah.
And you're in a bubble, like, without social media, without day-to-day life.
All you're 24/7 focused solely on relationships. And beyond
That's intense,
that,
just to think about.
Extravagant dates. So you're so overwhelmed and you're so happy. And it just makes you feel that you're like, everything is so perfect. And so when you go on these incredible dates, you attribute this happiness to that person. We're on a helicopter ride. We're going in a volcano. We're in Iceland in this spa. And it's all taken care of.
Suddenly dinner and a movie just doesn't really hit the
wrapped
same.
up in the moment, man.
But what happens when all that fades away? It's like, then what? It's like, what do you have
What's
left?
real?
And that's what, when Suzy and I, after we came off the show, we realized, like, that was all magical, but now here comes the real world. And we had a lot of real world discussions and a lot of tough talks, and we went through it, and we multiple times almost decided this is not for us, because we realized that, like, this bubble environment we were in is not applicable to the real world.
Well, but that's what I mean. Okay, I mean, you're on this game. I mean, I've been married. This year will be 12 years for me. I've been with the same woman for about 17 years. Okay, and I got to tell you, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. Right, as a man, trying to balance being a husband, trying to balance being a father, paying the bills, doing all this stuff. Like, to me, as a man, every single day I see beautiful women walking around. Oh my God, look at her. I'll watch the television. I'll watch The Bachelor. I'll watch you. And I see these women like, this is the luckiest guy in the world. But we all know, like, it's not real, bro. We know that. And that I think that's what's so surprising to me. I'm surprised, and I get it. I get it that you're taking all of this accountability for what you did, but was it even that bad to begin with? I don't want you to be too hard on yourself, because if anybody takes The Bachelor that serious to the point where you remind me of this, that, and the other, sorry, lady, this was a TV show. I'm trying to here to entertain folks. And I get, like, things are going to happen that aren't always going to be good, but at the end of the day, it's a television show. And if you're ripping any type of reality off of a show where you're supposed to meet your mate for life in 5 or 6 weeks, I mean, you're nuts.
Yeah, but that's for the viewers. Like, it's real to you. You lived it, you know?
To a certain degree, but he even said, he kind of acknowledges it. At the same time, it doesn't work this way.
Well, well, and here's the thing. There are real elements. I mean, Suzy and I met on the show, and here we are. We've been dating since November.
And here in Virginia Beach now.
So I'm in Virginia Beach. So
this is the work, though. This is it, right? Would you say?
But I think we stepped off the show and thought, we don't know anything about each other.
Right?
We don't, because we might have had a total on the show of maybe actual, like, time together, maybe a total of 2 hours. And so, because it's all sparsed out, it's all bits and pieces. You capture these moments. Okay, now move on, just because you have to spread your time out. Mm-hmm. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 hours total, like, because you start to have more time as there's less people that are around. But with that, it's like, it's not enough time to truly get to know somebody. But that's where people like to see, like, how it's a social experiment. It's a social experiment. How can you get someone to fall? And people have dated and been married from the show. It does. It does work. It is real. But also there's an element where it's like the show, again, people watch it for the drama. It's not just the love anymore. It's about the drama.
Oh, yeah.
And people get it. And I read online all the time, and they're like, we just want a love story. Well, do you? Because the second it became a love story,
you didn't want it.
You said, I'm bored. I want
something's not lining up.
So-and-so back. You know, so this is so boring. And so it's like they know, the show knows what people want, and they give it to them. And they give it to them in a drastic, really dramatic way. That's why the show's done so well. The show's successful. The show is just going off of what people want. And so they give them what they want. And that's why this show has been so incredibly popular, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon as far as I'm concerned from what I've seen. But that's where I think people need to understand that, like, there's a whole other side to it. There's a whole person behind this. I am not this guy that has it all figured out. I am not this guy that thinks that I was even deserving to be in that. Every day I woke up and I was like, I can't believe I'm dating these women. I can't believe I'm going through these experiences. I think I've become more humble since before the show from now, because I don't feel like a celebrity. I don't feel special. I think I was just crazy enough to go on the show. That's why I tell everybody. But I'm not special. I don't deserve
It's that one DM, I guess. Oh, back to that.
Yeah, it's just literally, I feel like the same kid. I sometimes feel like the same kid from 7th grade that's still scared, that kid that had suffered from body dysmorphia, that suffered from depression, anxiety. I still feel like that. When I look in the mirror, I see that kid sometimes, that like, I don't see this guy that other people see outwardly, because I struggle internally with all these things that I still have going on in my life, but no one sees that. They see the facade on social media. They see me posting the happy picture. And that's where I've started to try to use my platform to say, I posted this picture, but here's another picture that was taken less than 12 hours before that point. And that was my lowest moment. And here was the highest moment, less than 24 hours in between. Just so you all know that, like, I am not what I appear to be, just what I'm pushing out on social media, which is so true to everybody. We all see this. Everyone takes the flashy cars, but is that car rented? Or is that car, did they purchase that? Social media is such a beast in that regard, and that's where I'm starting to try to peel back the curtain to say, I'm human, and I'm no different than the rest of you all, and I don't feel any different than the rest of you all. I had a crazy experience, but just 6 months prior, I was just like every one of you.
Yeah.
So that's where I just try to ask people, like, give me grace and understand, like, I am not different from you all, nor do I feel any different. I still feel like that small town kid from Missouri.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it scares the hell out of me, because I have small children, and I'm so thankful that I grew up in the non-social media world. You know what I mean? We had pagers in the 90s, and those were cool. You know what I mean? Pager buddy. Yeah. Oh, I got to call my friend, right? Yeah. But it's like I've done a lot of domestic violence stuff. My wife is a licensed social worker, right? She's ran domestic violence homes. And so I've met and I've talked with people at the lowest of the low. And we talk a lot about domestic violence. We talk a lot about, mental versus physical abuse. You know what I mean? How you can punch somebody in the face and that's going to hurt. A couple of days, it's going to be gone. Mm-hmm. You tell somebody they're a piece of crap over and over and over and over again, that's going to stick with them. Yeah. How did you dig yourself out of that? Whenever you're in the show, you're getting multiple messages every single day, the horrible things complete strangers are saying about you. You've struggled with mental illness before. I mean, so how do you rise above all of the hate? Because these are hateful times we're living in, dude. This is one thing that I think is interesting, and Eddie Haskell told me this. I'll never forget this. This is the greatest thing I've ever heard from somebody, is that the more you get to know somebody, the more you hate them in America. Right? Depending on what platform you got. So if I got on the radio and I said, I voted for X, I voted for Y, or I believe in this, or I believe in that, people will hate my guts. They don't know who I am, what I'm all about, but I can say one thing, and that's enough for somebody to hate you. So how do you dig yourself out of all that stuff?
Gosh, it's a culmination, I think, of many different factors that I've realized, and since been able to take the time to become self-aware and realize that I had to lean on different concepts that I needed to really understand, this is how I'm going to get out. It's not something that I've really I've started to want to really just push this message out, is the message of being able to transition your mindset from going down a path of negative self-talk like what I was in, where everything I was seeing online was attributing to the thoughts that I started feeling about myself. Everyone started telling me I was this kind of person, this gaslighter, this terrible human being. And then when you start to believe those things, you're just on this trajectory towards, I would say, like a path of death, where you're just going down this path and you're just feeding into it. And someone told me this, Caitlin Bristow, one of the former Bachelorettes, she has been one of the best individuals that I've had in my corner that has kept me from walking down that darkness, because she told me so many great bits of advice. One thing she told me, she said, quit shopping for pain. And she's like, you are going to want to read all the forums. You're going to want to know what people are saying.
It's tempting, I'm sure.
It's tempting. Like, you're just going to want to know what people are saying on Twitter, all these things. She's like, but if you go shopping for it, you will find it. And what is it going to do? It's only going to make it worse. You're not going to go find the positive because you know where the negative is. And you're going to continue to fixate on, can I try to convince those individuals that I'm not who they think they are? Perfect platformer that I continue to look at, Reddit. It's a terrible platform when it comes to what they say about The Bachelor. It's so hypercritical. They attack the way people dress. They attack the way, like, they've done it to the Gabby.
Well, yeah, because the people that enjoy the show are not commenting on Reddit.
No.
It's the ones that want to be negative.
Gabby and Rachel for the way they dress. I've seen that, and it's like, where do you, like, why are you attacking them? Like, let them dress the way they want to dress. But it's a negative environment, an echo chamber, and I started just feeding into that, and I would go on it every day. And it just destroyed me. And so eventually, like, what I had to do is, to answer your question, is first thing I had to do was take a step back and say, what am I doing on a day-to-day basis that is actually making me a better human being, and which one's actually creating chaos that's taking me away from focusing on becoming a better individual and being able to give back and find my purpose. And it's like, okay, the hours you're spending reading your DMs, reading Reddit, all these things, that is only going to take you down to a place where you're going to be in a corner crying, asking, like, everyone to stop beating on you. And I'm like, I can't do that. I don't want to be that guy, nor do it like, and so how do I need to be able to find a way to rid myself of that. So shut off the social media. That's a big part. The second thing was relying on my support system, building a congregation around me, and listening to those voices to remind me that what you did over the course of 4 months doesn't define you, who you are. What defines you is what you decide to do today and tomorrow and from here on out. And so that's where I thought, okay, I need to start listening to these voices because these people want what's best for me. I know there's a lot of people online that want to see me fail. They still want to see me fail, and if I keep listening to them and feeding into what they're saying, I will fail. And that's what I realized is the more I listen to them, the more I believe what they say, and I'm going to walk right into that trap, and they're going to be so happy because they want to not see me happy based off of this little bit that they saw of me, and like, this kid deserves nothing. Well, why? Do you really know? Did you take the time to get to know who I was? No. You saw a little me in a microcosm. So I built around the support system. I leaned on them harder than ever, and I had dark days where, like, I wouldn't say that ever from this experience I ever got to a place where I thought about committing suicide, but I started having those thoughts of how much easier would it be if I just took my life, and nobody would blame me for it based off of what I've went through. Ultimately, I realized I have so much incredible support system around me that I would not want to create that pain for them. I don't want to, and I'm better than that. I'm like, you're stronger than that, Clayton. Like, take this story and make it something that people can learn from and grow. And through speaking about mental health, I've already changed lives on an individual level. And so I thought, okay, keep doing this because this is what your purpose is. I finally found my purpose. But to get away from all of that, I mean, I just had to open up communication. That was it. Educate myself on what previous bachelorettes have done and reach out to them to understand that I wasn't alone. Because when it comes to mental health, that's all anybody ever wants to feel like, is they're heard, they're seen, and they're not the only ones going about it and throughout life. And so I needed that. Thankfully, I wasn't the only bachelor ever around. There was 25 other ones.
Yeah. I think what's crazy, dude, in life is that, and similar myself, just highs and lows. And the times that I thought, things couldn't possibly get any worse, within a couple of weeks, something big would happen. Yeah. So it's almost kind of weird to say, like, you had to go through this journey, bro.
Yeah.
You had to do this. You had to get drugged through the mud. You had to go through all this crap to come out the other end and be a different person. Yeah. Not so much you changed so much of course the show changed you, but I mean, it took going and living and experience all of this horrible stuff for you to come out the other end and be like, I'm a better person because of this. And again, like, we're talking about high school graduations. One thing that we say is high school doesn't define you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you're going to turn into the person you're going to be for the rest of your life when you go to college and you go on these journeys and you do all this stuff. And some of it's going to be good. A lot of it's going to be bad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But as long as you're growing and you're not looking backwards, like, you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it just sounds like, for as crazy as what people would think, oh, this would be an amazing opportunity. Well, maybe not. You know what I mean? But at the same time, despite that, you can still kind of come out, feeling much better than what you did prior to going into it.
I know we've been talking about some heavier topics this morning, surrounding the show, but I like to, on a lighter note, you're new to Virginia Beach. Welcome to Hampton Roads. You know, as a newcomer to the area, a lot of us are. I'm from Maine originally. Cash is from New Mexico. What are like first impressions of getting to live here? Any favorite local spots you've found so far? Maybe that Suzy has introduced you to?
I have been just absolutely devouring seafood and crab cakes specifically.
Yeah.
Just crab cakes in the Midwest aren't crab cakes.
Chesapeake Bay. I mean, you're in like Crab Central
Dude,
now.
I was having this same conversation. I got a friend of mine who lives in Nashville, and we were talking about going out eating seafood. And I'm like, I remember I was working radio in Amarillo, Texas before I came here. I was like, I would eat oysters in Amarillo. Like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, I can't believe I didn't die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I will never again eat seafood unless I'm on a coast.
Yeah,
That's
and
it.
I got that first experience in Seattle when I played briefly for the Seahawks. I tasted the seafood and I thought, what was I eating in Missouri? Where was that coming from? Like,
imitation.
Your local lake or what? But again, I didn't know any better, right? And I think that's just so funny because if you don't know any better, you appreciate what you have, right?
Sure.
But now since I've come out here, and not to knock, Missouri is incredible. I love Missouri. Missouri is part of me. It's my identity, right? So just want people to know.
Yeah, but you're making this a new home.
Yeah,
you know?
Ozarks, great show. Yeah, I love it. Oh my God, you kidding me? That's a whole nother interview we have to talk about right there.
Ozarks is
dude, fire show.
Yeah, one of my favorite shows. But also just the actual Ozarks is not exactly like that show. Maybe that stuff's going on for all I know behind closed doors.
Is it as hillbilly as they make it out to be? It has to be, right?
No, there's so much money in the Ozarks.
Is there really?
Yeah,
okay.
There is.
Sure, probably beautiful homes and you know.
Yeah, it's a massive attraction. Everyone from the Midwest, that's where they go. So that is the spot because in the Midwest, it's like, well, there might not be a whole lot else going on as like opposed to the coast. You have all these options. So everyone comes flooding in, and you'll see $2 million boats on that lake. You'll see $4 million houses on the lake. It's so much money, and it's just it's Camdenton, Missouri. It's like the Ozarks. It's just wild. You wouldn't think it, but it's all sequestered in that area. So yeah, it's kind of like a little like secret spot. It's fun. But anyway, so here. I've loved, obviously I'm a foodie, so I've loved the food. It's been incredible, the seafood. I've been opening up. It's been, like I said, crab cakes every other day. Also, one of my favorite spots has been Tulu's.
Oh, Tulu, yeah. Beautiful, right there on the ocean.
That's why I loved it. She took me there early, Suzy did, and to sit out on the back and like the little lawn chairs, and they had the I think the grass. Well,
you feel like you're on vacation to eat there.
Was it real grass or was it turf? I think it was real grass. But you're sitting there and you're just looking out at the ocean. And for me, I remember just like sipping on a drink and thinking like, this is the life. This is vacation.
It's your life now.
This is vacation town, but I'm living in a vacation town. So this is my day to day. We used to travel to these places in Missouri, and you get 3 or 4 days there. So I've loved it. It's slower, it's quiet, slower pace, kind of equivalent to Missouri. And I say that as opposed, everything's perspective, as opposed to a New Yorker.
Oh, of course.
Chicago,
Yeah.
It's kind of got that slower vibe, slower pace. Everyone's just relaxed and enjoying life. And it's like, how can you not? You got the beach and your
and Suzy must be thrilled to be back home, too, after all the travels from the show.
Well, she loves traveling, but being closer to family has been so incredibly paramount for her. She mentioned on the show being closer to her family. Her dad was struggling, with his physical health.
Sure.
And had a lot of wild things going on this last year. So she came back to be closer to him. Thank the Lord, he's doing a lot better. And so now, we are just like, okay, like we can stay here. Or she is a world traveler. She loves experiencing new cultures. So we're like, we can make this our home base, but we can also just travel around and what does that look like? Like, that's where we're at right now. We don't know.
Did you like the time you spent in Seattle? Tell me a little bit about that whole thing with the NFL. I've always wanted to go to the Emerald City. I love that whole. I've been to Portland. I love
My brother lives in Portland now.
Oh, dude, it's so awesome.
Him yet, but I spent 8 weeks in Seattle, and I was in Renton, where their facility is. First off, it's beautiful. We practiced. People would roll up on their jet skis right on a lake, and they just roll up and they watch the practice from like their jet skis. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
When I was there, it actually didn't rain. It rained 1 day out of 8 weeks. So like I caught the best, I guess, pocket of time where it doesn't rain. Other than that, they say it drizzles every so often. One of the more, I guess, rainier states. But it was beautiful. I loved it. But it was such a. I was there obviously for a job.
Sure.
And so I actually spent most of my time in a hotel because I was in camp, and so I didn't really get to experience the adventurous side of like the hiking and all that I love to do, the outdoors environment. I know that they have a lot to offer. I didn't get to experience that because I was in my playbook every second that I could get to try to make this team, because I came in and it was like, hey, you got to learn this playbook and get ready to go play a game in 2 weeks.
So did you meet Pete and Russell Wilson? What were your thoughts on those guys?
Incredible human beings. I think there's a reason why they were so successful. You got to think all these teams have incredible talent, but I think the differentiator is the environment that they're in. That was such a welcoming environment. When I walked in, first day, I had to try out against 4 other tight ends. I beat them out. They said, you're on the team. I come walking into the locker room from that tryout. Within 3 minutes, Russell comes up to me and he says, hey, Clayton, he's like, happy to have you on the team. Let's get to work. I mean, that he didn't have to do that. I was a nobody. I was a free agent, right? I was the 5th string tight end that they had just brought in because someone else got injured. And he came up and said that, and it was genuine. I could tell. From that point forward, I had multiple conversations with him, just talking about whatever. It was life. I remember there was a point where I was sitting eating breakfast alone, and Cam Chancellor, future Hall of Famer, came up to me. I was sitting by myself, and he came and sat down, talked to me for 40 minutes, just about life. We just talked about everything. It wasn't even football related, and that was just the culture that they had there. Nobody was better than anybody else. It took an entire team to win. And Coach Carroll was one of the best coaches that I've ever been around in my short period of time. That man also came up to me. He'd just walk down the line for every day before practice and talk to everybody as we're warming up, as we're stretching. And the day when when he cut me, I was cut with like 15, 20 other guys. He was visibly upset. I mean, almost tearful. And you could hear the passion in his voice. He's like, I hate this day because I want to keep you. Yeah. But to be honest with you, like, we have so many incredible guys here, and we can only keep so many guys, and like we just don't have a need for you right now. Real talk. That's just what it was. But I could tell that he's like, if I could, I'd keep you all. But I got a cap limit. I can't.
Very genuine, though. It sounds like
very genuine. And I had so much fun when I was there. I could freestyle. I won't do it right now. I don't do it anymore. But I used to freestyle rap. Like that's what we would do and growing up in a small town.
Oh, here we go.
So we would freestyle rap. My rap name was Clayton. I can't do it now because I cannot tell you. I don't know.
Warm up next time. Next time you come in, you can.
I don't know what's going to come out.
And there's not going to be next time if you tell him that.
It's all right. It's all right.
Scaring him away.
I can bleep stuff. No big deal.
I wish they would have captured some of it. You'd have to bleep a lot.
Now, listen, I actually, some friends of mine one time, my buddy Estevan was his name. We used to call him Steve or Bonzi. And this dude musically played the guitar. He can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And we were probably doing stuff you shouldn't have been one night. Mm-hmm. And so he just starts flowing. It's like, I can do that. We spent the whole night doing it. I was like, this is a lot of fun. Yeah. And again, you never know, like, bleepity bleep, 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 bleep. You're like, whoa, where did that come from? But it sounded kind of cool at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I had so many fun experiences. There was one time where Coach Carroll, he literally just said, middle of the meeting, team meeting, he goes, Clayton, come up here. We need a little juice. Oh. They threw me a mic, and I started freestyle rapping. And it was just so much fun. And just off the cuff. Yeah. And everyone there going wild. Was I that good? No, but like I just went for it. I loved it. It was funny. Here's the big goofy white dude that's freestyle rapping about what I hear in rap songs. So like violence, drugs, all these things. And like, right, he doesn't know the first thing about that. But it was just like goofy. And because of that, it was so much fun. I think that there's a reason why they're so successful, and it's because of the people they have in that organization that genuinely do care. Yeah.
Clayton Ray, man, my son Logan Ray. Look at that. You guys got the same middle name.
R-A-Y?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
My granddad Ray Pierce was his name. Okay. My children middle names are named after my grandparents, my great grandparents. Yeah. So
my grandpa, yeah.
You've done a lot, bro. In the short time that you've been on Earth, I mean, you've got a lot going on, from football to crazy reality shows to helping people. How can people get on board with what you got going on right now?
Yeah, so for me right now, I feel like I've truly discovered my passion, and that's going around the country talking about mental health and destigmatizing the conversations that are around those topics and things that people don't want to talk about for fear of being judged. I think we all have mental health issues. We all do in some capacity. It looks different for everybody. I struggle with body dysmorphia. I struggle with anxiety, depression. And my story might look different from everyone else. I know people will say, how can we relate to you? We're not going to be the Bachelor. We're not going to go play in the NFL. We have a lot in common, a lot more than you'd think, because really through just sharing our pain, we realize that everyone's going through it. And that's what pulls us out of those ruts a lot of times when people do. I recently read that one of the top causes of people committing suicide is and why they don't talk about it and get help is because the perceived threat of isolation. If I speak up about this, people will judge me. They will use it against me, and I'll be worse off than I was before. So I'll suppress it instead of address it. That couldn't be farther from the truth.
It's the worst thing you could do.
The worst thing you can do is it just piles on and piles on until someone says, I have a mountain piled on top of me. I'm taking my life. I'm taking action. I'm not going to be able to fix all of this. There's no way. So where I'm at today and where people can get on board with is just through my social media, I'm trying to spread the message of hope. I'm trying to spread the message of having one more conversation, opening up, talking about these stigmatized conversations that we can destigmatize, because there's no reason to be fearful of opening up. You'll find a community of people that'll support you and help you overcome, and you'll be better for it mentally if you just start having those conversations. So I'm really just at this point trying to spread that message. People can go to my Instagram, click on the link tree that's under my bio, and they can reach out via email to the emails that are listed there to get me to come speak. I really want to focus, I think, on the youth is an age group, a demographic that needs to hear this message. The message that you're not less of a man if you talk about this. You're not less of a human being if you talk about this. You are, if anything, going to help start the healing process by opening up. And here, let me show you. I've done it myself. And I can promise you that it works. And suppressing it's the worst thing you can do. So if people want me to come, I would love, I'll travel across the country. I want to speak and spread this message and just be able to give individuals hope, one conversation at a time.
Yeah, man. Here
Amazing.
at the Eagle, we're all about picking people up when they're down. You know what I mean? So whatever we can do to help you out with that. This is incredible. I mean, this is an incredible story, so, and for you to want to be giving back. And again, despite how bad it was, like, you needed to go through this crap to come out at the other end. Like, it's weird to think, like, come on, life, give me a break. Yeah. Come on, right? I want it to be easier than this. But again, things happen for a reason.
I think someone put a great, this has been regurgitated probably so many times, but I've heard someone say, why me? And then it's like, no, it's a mindset. It's why not me? And I think that's where I've realized that, Clayton, why not you? Because you handled all of this. Yeah, you had your moments where you crawled into a corner, but you didn't stay there for long. And maybe and so it's like, crawl back out of it. Why not you? How about I take this and I make this my true calling and my passion, which I am on board fully now. And I think people can see that and realize that, okay, he got through this. I don't have to go through the same thing he went through, but if he got through that, surely I can probably get through what I'm going through. Hopefully,
absolutely.
That's the hope.
Clayton, dude, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you. This was amazing.
Thank you guys so much. This is awesome.